Located in beautiful downtown Traverse City, Michigan, there are multiple mysteries that are over a century old. Many once beautiful buildings now just sit abandoned and battered by years of harsh weather. Though they are abandoned and closed to the public, many rumors and legends grow about this property once used to house the mentally ill. From whispers and screams that come from nowhere to sightings of a grotesque monster with rotting flesh, this asylum has so many more questions than answers. This is the story of the Traverse City State Hospital.
Hello there, friends. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Ben.
And I'm Jake.
And tonight, we are going to take you on a walk along the bucolic shores of Lake Michigan to one of the Mitten State's most haunted locations. So grab a chair, sit back, get comfortable, and relax, because this is the Paranatural Podcast. What's up, Jakey boy?
Oh my goodness, I got shivers from that intro.
Thanks, buddy. That was a good intro yourself there, pal.
Oh, thanks. I worked on it.
You're finding your niche now.
My niche.
So you're gonna tell us about a haunted mental asylum tonight.
I am.
Fucking wonderful. One that, if I understand correctly, you've actually been to.
Multiple times.
Well, that makes it even better. So
yeah.
We're gonna get right into it, but first I want to remind everyone that if you go to our website, you can reach out to us. There is a contact form, and if you use it, you can give us ideas for episodes, just like Miss Rebecca English did the other day. So we are going to be looking into that, Rebecca, and we thank you for reaching out to us. So that's all I'm going to do for today. Jacob, get back into this story, bud. I want to hear about this haunted asylum.
Okay. So first we're going to do some of the backstory. The Traverse City State Hospital, also known as the Northern Michigan Asylum, it was established in 1881 as demand for the third psychiatric hospital in Michigan. In addition to those in Kalamazoo and Pontiac, the hospital opened in 1885 with 43 residents. From 1885 to 1924, the institution expanded to 12 housing cottages and 2 infirmaries. In the 1930s, 3 large college-like buildings were constructed. Dr. James Decker Munson was the superintendent during this time, and this is before drug therapy, so Munson treated through kindness, comfort, pleasure, and beautiful flowers.
And probably frontal lobotomies.
No
frontal lobotomies in this one?
He didn't believe in restraints like straitjackets. He didn't believe in anything that you could consider bad or mistreatment.
And this was in the 30s, you said?
Yeah, 1920s and 30s.
Wow, that guy was progressive AF.
Yeah, all the hospitals in northern Michigan, well, the 2, one in Cadillac, one in Traverse City, they're Munson, named after him. There's pictures hanging of him. But yeah, he believed that treatment or beauty is treatment. That was his motto.
All right, I like it.
So like I said, restraints such as straitjackets were forbidden, and he also had a work as therapy philosophy. The asylum provided opportunities for the patients to gain a sense of purpose through farming, furniture construction, fruit canning, and other trades. While the hospital was being established for the care of the mentally ill, its use expanded during the outbreaks of tuberculosis, typhoid, diphtheria. I always pronounce that one wrong.
Diphtheria.
You're pronouncing it wrong. It's me. Influenza and polio. It also cared for the elderly and was a rehab for drug addicts. When Munson retired from the asylum, it was operated by the state. After his death in 1929, there were changes in the mental health care philosophies, and it brought a decline to the institution, eventually closed in 1989 with a loss of over 200 jobs to the local economy. So it went great when he was the superintendent. It went great because he didn't want any mistreatment of the patients. He just wanted them to get better and wanted to show love and care so they could be rehabilitated that way.
Of all the mental asylum stories that I know, this might be the first one where, at least in the original and in this time period, it was a progressive, like, doctor who really cared about patients type situation.
Yeah, he stellar guy.
Apparently.
But the state took over, things basically went to shit. So during the remaining years that it was run by the state, the institution was, I messed up my notes. Okay. During the remaining years, the institution was open. Many atrocious acts were rumored to have taken place, and a disgusting mistreatment of the patients was basically ignored. So I was looking up the death records, and well, I had to call bullshit on the leading cause of death.
Ooh, do tell.
So at 91% of the deaths, which there was quite a few deaths there. I think I read 1,200 altogether.
That's quite a few.
The number one cause of death was epilepsy at 91% of those deaths.
That doesn't sound right at all.
Exactly. So I did some digging, and it turns out only a different record said like 6% died from epilepsy, which is still
sounds significantly high.
Yeah.
Like 6% of people walking around on the planet. I don't know how many people, what percentage of people have epilepsy, but I think 6% sounds high.
Right. And I couldn't find any website or anything ever stating that they viewed epilepsy as a mental illness or something that would make them go into an institution. But
I mean, brain damage caused by epilepsy, maybe.
It's a possibility.
All I'm saying is even 6% sounds high. I know like at least like 13 people and only one of them is epileptic. So that's not 6%.
Yeah, it said 91% of the deaths.
That's just not true at all.
Right. I called horseshit.
That's fuck calling it with you. 1-800 bullshit.
The number 2 cause of death was pulmonary tuberculosis, which, yeah.
If you're not, well, in what years was this? Is this like overall, like from open to close? Okay, so that one does make sense because tuberculosis, you know, in the earlier years that this hospital was open, it was a death sentence. Could, some people, I mean, did live with it, but they never really cured it, as far as I know. A lot of people just moved to places with drier air where they could breathe better, and that was the best they could do for it.
Yeah. And at number 3 was various forms of heart disease.
That one kind of makes sense. Heart disease is the number one killer of people on the planet. So,
yeah.
Because if the ticker stops ticking, you know, that's all you got. So that one kind of makes sense, but 91% epilepsy.
Yeah.
I'm with you. That's what were they doing that was causing the seizures then? Because they had to have been doing something.
No records of that.
No records of that. No electroshock therapy.
No.
No. Oh.
Well, it's argued in the later years when the state took over, lobotomies started taking place. And it was all before drugs like Thorazine were available. So they would just treat with lobotomies instead of medication.
Right. But even like lobotomies stopped being a thing, I want to say in the 60s. Don't quote me on that.
Like, I think 8 to 10 years after lobotomy stopped being a thing, they still did them.
That's bad. That's bad medicining.
Yeah. So we went from this loving, nurturing community, basically, of a great treatment for these people, to just this gross,
to just shove an ice pick in their freaking brain hole.
Right. Right. Drill through there and call it good.
They didn't drill, actually. You go in through the eye socket. There's a soft spot. It's right behind the eye. And you go in with pretty much with an ice pick and you shove it in there and then you wiggle it around.
Scramble the front lobe.
You scramble the front lobe. And that is how, and like when the people are done with it, they got like at most like a black eye.
Really?
It's actually a fairly, when the first lobotomies were being done, that was how they did it. It's actually kind of fascinating, if a little grotesque.
Holy fuck. Only a black eye?
Yeah, pretty much. Because they're not really hurting anything. They're just going in above the eye, behind the orbital socket, and into the brain. So it's only like punching through a couple like very thin tissues and wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. I work out and then pull it out and you're done. And
I knew you were going to say that. You ready for the number 4 cause of?
I'm ready.
All right, SpongeBob, calm down. At less than 0.5%, it was possible negligence/abuse.
I think we need to transpose that with the 91%, and then yeah.
Now, with all of my searching on the death records, there was only 3 recorded murders, but very, very many were unaccounted, which I found later on. The 3 recorded murders on the death logs: a female patient killed her roommate, leading to separate rooms for everyone in 1905, which is when Munson was still the superintendent. Actually, all 3 of these murders recorded are when Munson was the superintendent.
Right, and all that means is that he was making them keep good records.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't lying about shit.
So many records just disappeared after he retired.
Well, how about that?
Yeah. The second, there wasn't much information on it, but it was a male patient who beat another patient to death in 1911. And then it didn't say if it was male or female, but another patient strangled another patient in 1913. So, stories of patients being beaten and locked in rooms for days with no food, water, toilets, or beds were very popular.
That just sounds unpleasant.
Yeah. Workers who stopped working there because of the negligence and abuse towards the patients, they would come forward and say nasty things, but they were never, I can't think of the word right, investigated. They were never investigated. People
You hear a lot of that, and it's a pretty shady thing.
Yeah. There were stories of rape amongst the patients, but another thing that I looked up is most of the rape and sexual abuse happened from the workers, the employees sexually abused the patients.
Oof.
Yeah, at this time restraints were being fully used. So like straps on beds, straight jackets, even restraints against the wall. They would basically chain people to the wall like dungeons. And there's videos of people going through the tunnels into cells, and you can still see some of this in those videos.
That's yucky.
Now we're gonna go to my favorite part of this story, and it doesn't have to do with any of the building. Well, it's not about any of the buildings. It's called the Hippie tree.
The hippie tree.
Yes.
Is that a big pot plant?
No, it's a
Oh.
giant willow tree that's hollowed out.
Oh.
So the hippie tree is what some people believe to be a gateway to hell. It's a small hike away from the main buildings of the Traverse City State Hospital. The tree is extremely easy to tell apart from the other trees because it's much thicker and hollowed out, and all the branches that are broken still attached, but down to where people can do anything to them. They're painted bright colors with pentagrams and swastikas carved in. People, death dates written on it, whole bunch of stuff. I've seen that firsthand. So inside, where it's hollowed out, where people say they do rituals, there are strange paintings with a lot more pentagrams, and they're like branded into the tree. You look like you have something to say.
Yeah. Pentagrams and pentacles are not symbols of Satanism or anything like that. I wear one round my neck, have for years, and I do not worship Satan or summon demons or anything like that. So get over it with the satanic panic bullshit. Anybody who's carving pentagrams and pentacles and thinking that they're summoning demons, show them to me. I will smack them upside the back of their fucking head. Tell them to knock it off. Quit being such an emo kid. Get the fuck back to whatever it is you're supposed to be doing and wipe that goddamn makeup off your face. Please continue. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Okay. The ground, nothing around the tree for about a 5-foot radius will grow. It's all scorched. And as far back as I could find, people didn't say anything grew. You're gonna love this part because it goes against. Okay, what?
I'm gonna lay a little science on things. Most willow trees don't have a lot growing at their base because willow trees weep and their sap is slightly acidic. So most grasses and things won't grow at the base of a willow tree. Okay, I'm done.
I hope all of our listeners can just feel the stare that I'm giving you. Because it's a stare.
Look, science, goddammit. It's just science.
Let's get Tom Cruise in on this.
I said science, not Scientology.
Okay. Now, I'm about to be interrupted again because satanic and cult rituals have been seen around the tree. Anything to say?
Look, satanic and cult rituals are a thing. I'm not denying that. Most of them, though, are performed by jackass teenagers and fat neckbeards who live in their mom's basement and are trying to be cool and want to be vampires.
Well, joke's on all them. I lived in my dad's basement.
That is different. You don't have a neck beard. You don't have a beard really at all.
Watch it. Coming in. Okay. Many believe that animals and even people have been unlucky enough to be sacrificed there. I'm just waiting for you to say stuff.
Is there no evidence of people being sacrificed there?
There's evidence. There's been animal bones, and there's a few stories of when they closed the doors to the hospital. Well, I'll get to that part. I'll get to it.
Well, let me just ask a question here.
What?
How far outside of town, like out of city or whatever, is this?
It's actually, it's not far, but a lot of this is before Traverse City was big.
Kind of grew up around it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you now.
Because they had so many acres, because they had farmland where the patients could work.
Right. So at least for quite a bit of its history, it was more of a rural area.
Mm-hmm.
So things could be done there unobserved.
Yes.
That's just what I'm trying to establish here. I've never seen the place. You have.
It's beautiful. Okay. So where was I? Okay, yeah. People believe that animals, well, so the animals I can agree to, because there's pictures, and my brother's ex found animal bones out there that were scorched and a weirdly drawn circle in dusted chalk. So sounds ritualistic to me.
It does bear some hallmarks.
Many believe that the people who died in the hospital were, I don't want to say coerced into going there, but like their spirits were drawn to that area because mediums and paranormal people, they say there's a powerful, oh my goodness, I can't think of my words. There's a powerful thing.
Vortex.
No, not vortex.
Gateway.
No.
Magnetism. I'm trying to help you here.
Basically like a magnetism, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But there's this force around the tree where like it absorbs spiritual energy.
Is it the dark side of the force? Sorry.
Probably.
Star Wars people think that's funny.
We'll see in the comments, hopefully. So when the doors closed to the hospital, they basically told all the patients, you have to leave, whether it was their family coming to get them, but most didn't have anywhere to go, so they tried to survive in the surrounding woods. And this tree, like I said, it is huge. It's very distinguishable. And back in the day, you can imagine with all the branches, like how big they are, it would have been some cover from the harsh environment. And they say a lot of the patients would go there to seek shelter and all that stuff. And well, they couldn't survive, so they would die around that tree. So a lot of people think that their souls were in that area, and they would pray to God, they would pray to Satan, demons, different gods to save them from their fate. And they say that negative energy is what made it become the gateway to hell. So there's been reports of anguished screams from the souls being forever tormented. There's been a lot of reports of people hearing screams around that area at night. And I believe there's quite a few recordings of random screaming and very weird sounds like I don't want to go into a different story, but have you ever heard of the hole to hell in Siberia?
Yes, yes.
That recording of all the screaming and stuff sounds a lot like that. So my friend and I, we went there at night, and on our way back from the tree, we heard a lot of noise coming from where we came from. So we scooted out of there pretty quick. But it's down this big hill, so you can see pretty far when you're going to the tree. And when we were at the top of the hill, we look back and there is a fire, and you can hear a bunch of people talking. And it might just be me. I asked my buddy about it, and he says he doesn't know what to think about it. But it could have been a ritual. It could have been something.
Could also just have been homeless people camping.
All right.
Sorry, I gotta play the skeptic sometimes.
No, you don't. Just have fun with it. So we're going to the next story. That was the hippie tree. We love the hippie tree.
The hippie tree. We're leaving the hippie tree.
The next one is about a hospital chaplain who committed suicide. The only one that I could find where people said that it was him is a chaplain named Father Fred. But he hung himself in the chapel. It is said that he would hear demonic voices telling him to do terrible things to the patients and himself, and he couldn't take it anymore. And with a final act of defiance towards the demons, he hung himself in the chapel. That one kind of made me question it, because suicide is viewed as a sin, and an act of defiance towards demons committing a sin, it doesn't make sense to me.
You are correct. It does not.
But there is a death record of a chaplain committing suicide.
Like an actual record or an anecdote?
It was a record.
Ooh.
Some sources say that after his suicide, the congregation, or some of his congregation at the chapel, died from inexplicable causes, and some also committed suicide. So the patients started believing that the chapel was cursed, and they stopped seeking a relationship with God and the church, which is another reason people think that the hippie tree is a portal to hell, because when they went there, they've basically given up any relationship with God or anything, and just prayed to whatever else. Oh my goodness. I skipped a page on the hippie tree.
Oh, damn it.
We're going to get back to the hippie tree.
All right. We're going to go take a walk back to the hippie tree for a minute.
A beautiful area. You guys will love it.
So nice we see it twice.
Look at you rhyming. You got M&M in here.
I got M&Ms. They're over there.
Are they the peanut butter kind?
No, regular this time.
Regular?
Yeah.
That's unlike you.
No, I switch back and forth. Sometimes I mix them.
Popcorn?
Yeah.
You're one of
Right.
those people.
You mix the peanut and the plain together, and then you just get a handful, and it's a surprise every time. Anyway, back to the hippie tree.
Okay, back to the hippie tree. The tree is said to have a powerful psychic energy which attracts spirits from the nearby dead. That's the word I was trying to think of earlier. Psychic energy.
Psychic energy.
Some theorize that the souls of the dead become trapped by the energy of the tree. Here we go. This is the story that I wanted to get into. One popular urban legend claims that in the 1950s, a young man was murdered at the hippie tree by an escaped mental patient. I couldn't find too much on it, but there's actually been quite a few stories of when when the hospital closed down, the patients would go there. Some would kill each other because there wasn't enough resources to go around, or some say they resorted to cannibalism so they could continue eating. Cool stuff.
Yeah. We might have to disclaimer this one.
Everyone loves cannibalism.
Oh, we got cannibalism, we got sexual assault, we got suicide.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we might have to disclaimer this one.
Not for the weak audience.
Yeah. Do not let your children listen to this one.
Paranormal investigators and others visiting the tree at night report hearing sounds of disembodied voices, whispers, and screams. They also encounter apparitions and shadow figures. Some other urban legends claim that anyone who walks around the old tree without walking over any of the roots or touching the branches will see the portal to hell open before them.
Suddenly I feel like driving up north and looking for a portal to hell.
Now, this is a story that I found from an anonymous person, but the hospital does tours sometimes during the year, and it costs money, so I always just figured I'd sneak in.
We here at the Paranatural Podcast do not condone or endorse breaking and entering in any way, shape, or form. What we have done as young morons is our business.
And we do not condone snitches.
Correct.
Okay. So, anonymous quote. This is a long one, but it was very interesting. One night, we took a tour when only the offices in the front were remodeled in 2004. We went through tunnels, the chapel, and the floors that were stable and safe. My friend and I were locked together by our arms, prepared to be scared out of our mind. Stop pushing my papers, puppy dog. Yeah, walk away. I kept getting a creepy vibe that I couldn't handle, so I looked down quite a few times, not wanting to see what I knew I could feel. I was suddenly pulled to look in a direction, and I don't know why, but I did. What I saw must have been a monster. It was gray or white, mutated and malformed in some way that almost looked like a mummy wrapped in gauze or peeling skin. It moved like a slow motion picture, all sketchy, then faster than a blur, faster than anything I've seen. I blacked out or was grabbed in time or something. When I came to, my friend wasn't holding my arm and I was separated from our tour. I screamed for my dad. He came running down the hall asking where I went. I didn't know. I couldn't tell him, other than I saw something. My friend would not have let go. She doesn't know how I disappeared or how I got separated from the group, but she won't talk about the whole experience.
If it's true, that's definitely strange.
Yeah, and I've heard weird things about the tunnels. I may or may not have witnessed a little bit in the tunnels, but that
What do you mean may or may not?
Okay. So, once again,
Woohoo,
young and
story
dumb.
time.
Yes.
Young and dumb. Young and dumb. Don't do what we have done.
My friend and I found a way to get into the building, and it wasn't quite dark yet. So it wasn't closed to the public quite yet. The buildings were, but like the grounds are open during the day. And so we found a small broken window underneath a staircase to get in. So we went in there and we were looking around for another staircase inside to go into the tunnels. Couldn't find anything. So we found this large, like, laundry chute thing. And I got voluntold that I was going to be the one who was going down. In retrospect, it was very stupid and extremely creepy.
You could have
All
got
I had
stuck.
was it was big.
No,
Like,
I mean, like, if you couldn't find your way down to the tunnel, you might not have found your way back up.
right. Kids don't think about that stuff.
I know we don't, but
I was
damn.
like 18 or 19. What?
I'd expect this shit from a 12-year-old.
Think a 12-year-old's got the nuts to go into an abandoned mental institution?
I did.
You probably looked like a man when you were 12. You probably already had a freaking beard.
Did start shaving at 10.
Yeah. So suck on my nuts.
Anywho, you're in the tunnel.
I wasn't in the tunnel quite yet.
Oh, in the laundry chute.
Yes. So I went down
now.
and instantly when I got down there, I was looking for a staircase or something. We ended up finding it without an issue. So my friend came down and it broke off into two different directions. So he went one way, I went the other. It was all a straight line, so we wouldn't lose sight of each other. So I have my flashlight on my phone, looking in the different rooms. And one of the rooms I came across, there was a gurney, a couple of chairs, and like some sheets on the ground, which was a little bit weird because none of the other rooms had anything else in it. And I walked past it, got to where I decided I was going to turn around because it's getting late, getting dark. I'm scared. Turn around, and in that room, I am 100% sure all that stuff was gone. The gurney was gone. The sheets were gone. The chairs were gone. There was nothing in it. Did not hear a noise at all.
Fucking creepy.
But here's where it gets even weirder. In the corner of the room, I see this like mass moving around. So I got my friend to come down there because I wasn't going in there alone. And in the corner of the room, there's like, I want to say rats. They were too big to be mice, but there's like 13, 14, 15 rats in this corner, just like squirming around.
Gross.
Yeah, just in the corner, like, I don't know. They were like trying to get through the wall.
Yeah. Oh, I got the willies.
Yeah. So we ended up making our way out, and yeah, but everything was gone from it. It was creepy as shit.
Oof, ugh. Thank you so much for that. Oh, my cat's right there. She'll protect me.
Should have taken her. She would have eaten mice or rats.
Squirming. No, she just plays with them. She won't kill them. She just swats them and plays with them. Anyway.
Okay. So another little, I want to say, paranormal story from it. My brother and I went there. We didn't go inside because, well, there's security. Another thing
security.
Yeah. So we walked up to the chapel where this guy allegedly hung himself. Well, he did hang himself. And my brother, for some reason, knocks on the door. It's got a window where you can see inside, and it's a pretty big window, so you can see basically everything. He knocks. We start walking away, and it knocks back. So we're like, no fucking way. Walk back over there, and the window is broken, so we peek our head in to make sure there's not like a teenager or a homeless guy like hiding at the bottom fucking with us. There's nothing. So my brother looks at me and he's like, $5 says it won't happen again. Sure as shit. As soon as he said that, it knocks again. And we both look at each other. We're just like, don't know what the fuck to do. So him being him challenges this thing. And he's like, all right, motherfucker. $10 says it won't happen again. Nothing. Didn't hear anything. He pulls out his wallet. He's got like $7 in it.
The ghost knew he didn't have $10.
Yeah. And
did he leave $5?
No, I feel like that's why we got bad juju now.
Oh, yeah. You tell him he better leave his $5.
Yeah.
Ghostus wants his $5. He's got to buy some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah. It knew how much money he had. It was weird.
I mean, if you can just be an incorporeal spirit, you can probably look in somebody's wallet. Go stay out of my wallet. My girlfriend is in there enough.
All right. So we're going to go on a couple more reports. This is back before glass in these places, I know firsthand, was unbreakable. So you could break the windows and all that stuff. They just had the old-fashioned bars. Nowadays, when I was in there, they have super glass that a flying chair can't break. And I'll tell you what, the chairs in there are like 100 pounds. They don't want you throwing chairs.
That way you can't WWE somebody with it.
Yeah, they're heavy ass chairs, and the tables are bolted down, and everything's bolted to the walls. Really neat place. But back then, they had breakable glass, and patients would use broken glass to take their own lives, including children and people of all ages.
Oof.
Yeah. And they housed children as young as 5.
Wow.
They had a building specifically for children, and it was as young as 5 years old.
At 5 years, like, that's not even right, dude.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, was it like an orphanage, or were these like quote unquote crazy kids?
Quote unquote mentally ill.
How do you know a 5-year-old is mentally ill?
Exactly.
I got a 6-year-old. He's perfectly normal, and I'm pretty sure he's mentally ill most of the time, but that's perfectly normal for a fucking 6-year-old.
Right.
If they're not doing crazy, stupid shit, they're not healthy.
Kids will be kids.
Wow. I didn't realize that like kids that young could be locked up for mental illness.
Yeah.
Now that's even yuckier than the rat thing. I don't like it.
Oh yeah. They would perform lobotomies, and
Oof.
they would lock these kids away in these rooms with no toilet, no food, no water.
Wow.
Yeah. They almost used isolation as a treatment.
That's never a treatment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how people get dissociative personality syndromes and all that stuff.
Yeah, you just get worse.
Yeah. Like when I was in, they encouraged you to talk to people. They made you talk to people. You didn't have a choice, but they encouraged you to make friends. All that good stuff.
Extreme isolation will turn a sane person crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yeah,
anyway,
they're doing it to kids as young as 5 years old.
Yeah, that's just wrong.
So in the tunnels, there's a separate tunnel, a very small separate tunnel that is so tight you have to go through sideways. After what feels like forever, you reach an open area with a 6 foot by 6 foot cell that is welded shut. Some report that this is where that weird skinned creature lives, that palish gray one.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think that's where it stays. And a lot of people find this place by accident because it almost they call it cave like. So the walls aren't perfectly straight. They're all like rocked and chipped and stuff like that. Um, Many report ghostly children playing in the halls of the building and in the tunnels.
Ghost kids are the creepiest kind of kid, or ghosts
Yeah.
and kids. They're the creepiest kind of kids too.
And I found this was another very disturbing part. The morgue for the entirety of the patients was located under the children's wing.
That's a bad place for it.
Yeah, so think about the hot summers.
Well, morgues are refrigerated, but still.
Underground that deep, they
Oof. Anyway, oh
yeah.
wow. They did
Yeah.
a lot of stupid shit at that hospital, man.
Yeah, and basically all went to shit after Munson retired.
No wonder it's fucking haunted. That is
Yeah.
why places like that get haunted. Like mental asylums, insane asylums, like they're hotbeds. And it's, I mean, I got a lot of theories on it, but a lot of it, especially the ones that are older, like this one, all the shit you do to people, all this extreme isolation, it's nothing but negative energy.
Oh, another thing that I read about is they trying to think of the word hydrotherapy.
Yeah, waterboarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also did that to apparently mostly the elderly people. And I was reading a few stories about people whose grandparents were in there. And the oldest one I think I found at 85, this guy's great grandma was in there at 85 years old. And apparently, how she died was water in the lungs and trauma to the head.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, no murders, no abuse was reported.
Yeah. No, she had a seizure.
Yeah. Yeah.
No shit, she had
epileptic.
A seizure. Bounced her head off the bottom of your fucking water tank when you're trying to almost drown her as therapy. There was some air quotes in that. If you couldn't hear them, they were big air quotes. Therapy. Yeah. They did some messed up shit in those places.
Yeah. And basically the whole like ideals of what it was originally for went to shit, and they just used it as throw people in here and we'll do shit, see if they get better.
That was a lot of it too, was until relatively recently, mental health treatment was so misunderstood. And your state-run asylums mostly, so you're talking about this one in Traverse City, and you got like Waverly and all those places that are now very famous haunted locations.
Yep.
They were pretty much just, you took the mentally quote unquote insane, you locked them away, you forgot about them, and whoever ran the place was just free to experiment and do whatever the hell they wanted. And if it had some sort of result, they would write it up in a paper, and no matter how absolutely just grotesque that treatment might be, it was called science.
In the years from when it was open to when it was closed, I read that they had over 50,000 patients go through there, and so many records of these people are just gone. Like,
yeah, they probably died.
Yeah.
A lot of them probably died, and since they knew nobody would miss them, they just buried them out back in a field somewhere and forgot about them.
And that's the thing. They don't report excuse me. They don't report death, like other than those 3 murders and the suicide and a couple other ones. They don't report deaths, and they're treating people who actually have sicknesses other than mental sicknesses, and they still, like, people die, like even under good treatment, people with sicknesses will die. And
That is absolutely a good point. If you are also housing physical ailment people, people with tuberculosis or, what have you, they will die. Even in your most modern day, best hospital in the world, people die. So if they're not reporting deaths, there's some fuckery going on there.
there's all sorts of the fuckery. But yeah, that's the story of the Traverse City State Hospital.
Oof. I can't get over that 5-year-old kid thing, man. I'm gonna have nightmares tonight.
It surprised the shit out of me.
Yeah. That's real messed up.
Like, don't get me wrong, I think my ex's kid was possessed sometimes, but again, that's just kids.
Yeah, that is. It's just kids.
They speak in different languages.
Sometimes they're evil.
Yeah. Sometimes they grow horns and try to kill you in your sleep. That's just kids being kids.
That's what kids do. Yeah, I can't believe that. That's something, man. No wonder places like that are haunted as fuck.
Yeah. And I do want to go on one of the tours, but I feel like it's all for monetary reasons now. It's just, oh, look at what used to be.
Yeah, a lot of those tours, they're fun to do, don't get me wrong. But when you're in that big of a group of people, moving through it, you don't have the time to like explore or just wait or whatever. And there's so much activity going on. You don't get a lot of activity that way.
Right. You can't get into the nitty gritty of it.
Right. Now, if you can get, like, if we could go up there, we'll put it on our bucket list. If we could go up there with a small group and privately, explore, that might be a thing to do.
I think they do small parties by request.
Because you can do that like at Waverly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a thing we should do one of these days.
Yeah, I'd love to.
But yeah, mental asylums, insane asylums from back in the day, you get a lot of these haunted reports of it, and you can't really question why. Well, all the bullshit they used to pull back then.
Yeah. Growing up, I just heard the stories of it being haunted, and like once I started looking it up and I read about the early history of it, I was like, why in the hell is this place haunted?
Well, that one, it shows up on literally if you look up haunted places in Michigan,
it's top 2.
Yeah, it's top 2 every time.
Yeah, the top number 1 is the Heritage Orphanage in the UP.
Yep. Yep.
And I really want to check that place out, but they demolished it.
Well, now we got homeless ghosts.
Yeah, they don't know where the fuck to go.
Yeah. Oof.
Yep. That's the story of the state hospital.
Kid ghosts and rat piles.
The rat thing was creepy as shit for some reason.
Because it's fucking a pile of rats squirming around on the floor.
It looked like they were trying to go through the wall, which is a stone wall. It looked like they were trying to get away from something.
Oof. That's just, ew, gross. Kid ghosts and rat piles.
I only pet a few of them.
I only brought home 6 or 8.
Yeah. And the strange thing is the hand that I pet him with is now green and really itchy.
All right. I think we're gonna we're gonna go ahead and say that's the story of the Traverse City Mental Asylum. So if you have enjoyed this episode, which I know I have, then subscribe wherever you're listening to us. Hit that subscribe button. If you want to help the show grow, tell your friends about us. And if you really, really want to help the show grow, leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, just like a couple people have done so far. I would thank them, but I forgot to write down their names. So
come on, Ben.
We'll get to you next time. Oh, and don't forget Patreon. We have a Patreon page. You can find the link in the description. We have one free episode up right now, which was an absolute trip. And so we left that up so you guys can see what you can expect on Patreon.
That was a glorious episode.
And the next couple that are going up, Jacob and I are going to take the time to sit down and record our own personal paranormal encounters, kind of go over the things that got us into these subjects to begin with. So check out our Patreon, help out a couple of guys that are just trying to spread a little joy in the world. So anything else, Jacob?
Nope. As always, I love you guys.
We love you. Thank you for listening, and good night.
Good night.